Today at Comicstorian, we're going to be covering more of the Devil's Reign saga, showing you what the villains for hire and Moon Knight are doing during the event. You have found yourself a Comicstorian. I take your favorite comic book storylines, break them down into a synopsis, and read it back to you as an audio drama. We cut out a lot of the fluff and the extra stuff to tell you the bare bones storyline, allowing you to know what's happening in the comic book, but there's still enough for you to go buy it and add it to your collection if you want to. All alterations are to prevent copyright problems. Now, over in the Daredevil storyline, it ended with Kingpin being furious that the vigilantes were getting away with all of the crimes that they pretty much are getting away with. So he enacted a new law, which makes being a vigilante against the law, straight out. And he created a task force known as the Thunderbolts to go around and arrest the vigilantes. As this is happening in New York, there's a lot of vigilantes that this is going to be affecting. One of those is Moon Knight. We're then going to go by the reading order and bring you the next 2 issues of Villains for Hire. As Mayor Fisk's hold over New York tightens and regulations for vigilantism are outlawed, the Supermax prison of Miradon has been filled up with both villains and heroes alike, one of which is 8-Ball, who just got himself set up with a new cellmate. And as with any cellmate, you have to remind yourself who's in charge. 8-Ball sits up stating, "You might not like this, but I've tussled with the best. Spider-Man, Moon Knight, She-Hulk. I even died one time. The Hood brought me back and wanted me to be a part of the gang. But I was really more of the mastermind kind of guy. What about you? What are you in for?" The new cellmate grunts, pushing up from his push-ups, stating, "Mask beef." 8-Ball asks, "That it? That's cool. What's your name? Maybe we ran into each other." The man grunts without looking over. "Moon Knight." 8-Ball stares for a moment and then quietly sits back down on his bunk. Later at lunch, 8-Ball tries to sit with some of the other established gangs, but he was never really one to fit in. So he sits by himself to go and eat, until someone reaches out snatching an apple from his tray, telling him that he really is one sorry Khan. 8-Ball looks up at the man with a carved moon on his forehead. "Hey, Captain Confusion, what's up?" Confusion laughs. "How could a sorry guy like you survive on the streets? But wait, you didn't, you got killed." Suddenly, Confusion's wrist is grabbed by Moon Knight and Confusion asks, "Who the hell are you to be sticking up for 8-Ball? Moon Knight stares into Confusion's eyes and tells him, "I'm the guy who carved that moon into your head." As Confusion runs away, Moon Knight sits down to eat with his newly acquired apple. And 8-Ball asks, "Why aren't you sitting with the other hero types?" Moon Knight takes a bite and tells him, "They all got pinched with Fisk's Thunderbolt sweets. I'm not really more welcomed with them than, say, any D-list Khan is with other gangs around here. But what I want to know is, where is Man Mountain Marko?" 8-Ball tells him that Marko doesn't eat with the rest of them. He gets real food. There's a little-known secret that Marko is known as the King of the Cage. Guards got a little Thunderdome action going on with the inmates. They place bets the whole 9. Since Marko is the reigning champ, he doesn't sit with the likes of them. You don't say. Across the cafeteria, Confusion sits back with his gang, who all also have moons carved into their foreheads. But as he's attempting to warn everyone, his face is slammed into his tray. "Hey, been a while. What are a bunch of first-class losers up to these days? Maybe you should all remind me of your stupid names. Or, if you feel like trying to get some payback, you know where to find me." Later, as Moon Knight and 8-Ball are heading back to their cell, a guard stops them, sniffing Moon Knight, telling him that he stinks, and that he needs a shower. He gets dragged down the hall with the guard pushing Moon Knight into the bathroom and shutting the door. Moon Knight looks at Captain Confusion and his gang. "You don't waste time. I appreciate it." A few minutes later, the guard whistles as he counts the money that he was paid, and Moon Knight walks out, bloody, telling him, "The shower's broken. How about some real action?" After that, Moon Knight is brought into the guard fights, where he brutally beats his first opponent, Boomslang. Every fight after that was the same. Maybe he'd get hit a few times, but Moon Knight would always savagely win his bouts, even sometimes taking on 2 inmates at the same time. But finally, after a few nights in climbing the ranks, as a knock at the glass, as Man Mountain Marko stands there. He tells Moon Knight that he's heard someone really strong has been in the cage. "You wanting a shot at the title? I've got a 12-year-old daughter who looks bigger than you. Who are you supposed to be anyway?" Moon Knight blows on the glass to fog it up and starts to draw out a crescent moon. Later, Moon Knight is taken to the title match where Marko is waiting for him. "You ready to die tonight? You're not nearly as tough as you need to be to kill me. The first man to kill me was Raw Bushman. He was a ruthless war criminal, real deal. You? You're no Bushman. Marko shouts as he throws his punches, but with every swing, Moon Knight dodges and counters with a punch or kick of his own until Marko catches his leg. Marko turns, throwing Moon Knight into the cage, but Moon Knight grabs the bars, launching himself back with a kick to the chest. But even being put down to his knee, Marko gets back up screaming as he charges at Moon Knight, punching him hard enough to knock him down. Moon Knight thinks back to why he's here in this exact moment. Before the midnight mission, he was approached by a woman, Judith Court. But before she went back to her maiden name, her last name was Marko. Moon Knight asks, "So your ex-husband is Michael Man Mountain Marko?" And Judith tells him yes, and sighs, telling him that Michael left her when she was pregnant with their daughter. He never came to see her, and the daughter is 12 now and starting to show powers, super strength, and Michael wants to take her away because she's valuable to him now. He said that when he got out, he would find her, kill her, and take that daughter. Moon Knight stops her as she tries to explain her daughter's hobbies, telling her that she has nothing to be afraid of. "You and your daughter are under my protection now. I'll handle your ex-husband." Back in our current time in the fight, Marko flexes, asking, "Did you see that? I'm still the champ!" But Moon Knight gets up, throwing himself onto Marko's back, wrapping an arm around his neck. "No punk cop or third-tier supervillain could have put me in here if I didn't want to be in here. No prison can hold me if I wanted to leave. I came to deliver a message, and that message is that you will never see your ex-wife or daughter again. Or I will do things that will make what I did to Bushman look like mercy. Understand?" Marko falls over laughing. "Haha, I get it. As soon as I get out of here, I'm just going to kill her. Just like I'm going to get my little girl." Moon Knight looks down. "I gave you a chance. Remember that." And he buries his thumbs into Marko's eyes, gorging them out, telling him, "Now, you can never see them again." As the guards come to take Marko away, Moon Knight turns and begins attacking them, but ultimately loses. Later in Solitaire, 8-Ball comes by mopping up, asking, "So you wanted to get pinched?" Moon Knight tells him that this place couldn't keep Captain America and he's just one man. It's a matter of time when everyone decides to leave. "But would the others come and get you out? Thought they didn't like you." Moon Knight tells him, "They don't, but they don't have to. If they're going up against Wilson Fisk when they get back to the city, that's the kind of fight they're gonna need this wild dog for." Following the reading order of Devil's Reign, the next two storylines are Villains for Hire, which is a Thunderbolts storyline, issues 1 and 2. Let's go into those. It was a night of glamour and cameras as people gather for the Met Gala, a place where the rich could flaunt their wealth with extravagant dresses and clothing. And when all that power is held under one roof, it's bound to catch the attention of those who may not agree with their choices. Guns begin to fire into the air as a group of masked men calling themselves the Humanitarian Liberation Movement storms the building, taking everyone they could as hostages. They declare that people are starving, that the money they spend on just one costume could feed hundreds of families, but no, they'd rather throw all their money away pretending that they're... But that's when the activist begins to feel something wrap around his neck, and Whiplash pulls the man down, telling all of the partygoers that they're safe now. As the other Thunderbolts make their way through, Rhino tells everyone that Mayor Fisk wants to clean up these streets for the fine folk such as themselves, and Electro says that she is sorry to crash the party. Some of the activists on the roof begin to open fire, but Taskmaster pulls back on his bow, telling them to lay down their weapons. And as the gunman pulls the trigger, Taskmaster lets go of one of his arrows, hitting the man off the roof and into the crowd. Another man shouts, asking what's going on, and then Agony says that it's her turn to walk down the red carpet, and she wants to make it bleed. So get ready for her close-up. As Agony opens up her mouth, she hisses, spraying acid all over the man, melting his face and arms down to the bone. And once the Thunderbolts finish cleaning up the streets, they return to the precinct to wait their next orders, as the Thunderbolts now work for the city under Mayor Kingpin. They continue to wait around until they begin to argue about why are they waiting around. They should be free to walk around. They're heroes now. But it's Taskmaster that holds everyone still, firing an arrow to keep Whiplash from cracking her whip. That, of course, incites a brawl between the entire group, and as that brawl erupts in the police station between the Thunderbolts, finally Fisk walks in shouting, "That is enough! What an absolute mess! You are meant to clean up the city, not drive it even further into the ground." As everyone settles down, Fisk goes on stating that he is entrusting them with his city. He wants them to unearth the vermin responsible for the terrorist attack on the gala. And when they do, there will be no cameras or press. I want you to make them suffer, slowly. Don't mess this up. Later, at the Humanitarian Liberation Movement's base of operations, they gather to plan their next attack when suddenly Rhino comes bursting into the abandoned warehouse. Whiplash grabs a hold of one of the men, ripping his head off, and Rhino tells her, "Oh, geez, you didn't have to go that far." Electro begins to electrocute another man until his flesh melts away, while Agony does the same to another with her acid. And the next day, the press pulls out an article about how Fisk thwarted the terrorists. But as he shows his Thunderbolts, his office door is kicked in. Fisk looks up asking, "And who the hell are you?" "John Walker, U.S. agent. Reporting for duty, sir. Go ahead and sign me up." Fisk puts his hands together, leaning forward. "Everyone step out." Once the doors are closed, Fisk stands up. "I didn't order any red meat. Which butcher sent you? The feds, the DA, who?" "I came on my own. Someone needs to keep the Thunderbolts under control. They just murdered all of your problems. I'm here to fix your management issue." "And why should I let you into my Thunderbolts?" "Because I didn't vote for you. With the Thunderbolts in play, there's a hardline stance against superheroes. We can both do the math. Sooner or later, they're bound to start playing by their own rules. I'm here to keep a leash on the bad guys, make sure they play nice with the police. I get things done. I don't walk the line. I don't cross the line. I am the line." Fisk stares for a moment and then, after some consideration, tells him, "Congratulations, you're hired." The Thunderbolts are dispatched to take care of a robbery in progress at a local jewelry store. Needless to say, the crooks are mostly intact. A few broken bones and a face full of glass, but nothing too bad, at least by Thunderbolt standards. But as they take their leave, Taskmaster tells everyone that there's no need to thank them. But it's Electro who decided that she wanted to earn a little bonus in the form of a nice-sized diamond ring. But before she could even get down to the street, the U.S. agent throws his shield into her back. "Put it back." Taskmaster turns to him. "Who the hell do you think you are?" "I'm the guy who's in charge. You're just a low-rent cap in America." And just as he finishes his sentence, U.S. agent runs up, jumping over Rhino, bashing Taskmaster with his shield. "Somebody needs to babysit the thugs." The rest of the Thunderbolts try to throw their punches, but U.S. agent stops each and every one of them, knocking them all down. "From now on, we're the law. Anyone who thinks they're above the law is gonna find themselves under my boot. Consider this your first and final warning. Tomorrow, you're a team. My team." Once the streets are clear, everyone heads back, with U.S. agent taking his time, walking alone, and then ducking into a dark alley, telling himself that this is pointless. There isn't enough evidence to shut Fisk down, barely enough for a slap on the wrist. If the FBI wants any of this purple children mess to stick to Fisk, they're gonna need more. A lot more. U.S. agent lifts his shirt, taking off the now fried wiretap thanks to Electro's attempt, and tosses it in the garbage, stating that Fisk's got a big campaign event tomorrow. Let's see what his posse does. Tomorrow comes and Fisk's rally gathers around. But while everyone is chanting for Fisk, Fisk welcomes everyone, thanking them for their support, stating that they have strength in numbers, but by the size of this crowd, they're pretty strong. But as he's giving his speech, there's someone in the crowd touching people. Before anyone realizes it, their eyes all turn black and their faces go blank, and they just stand there. The chants start to fade as more people are turned, and U.S. agent takes notice, whispering to the others that they're starting to form around the mayor. Soon, the enthralled citizens begin to climb up onto the stage, and U.S. agent quickly throws himself to the crowd and quickly begins to question why he's even here. But before the masses could overpower him, Rhino jumps down, throwing the people off, asking, "You need a hand?" And U.S. agent climbs up, telling him, "I was fine. We need to corral these rioters before they start going after the cops. Just try not to throw anyone else. These people don't seem to be in control of themselves." Back in the fight, Electro jumps down, charging herself, stating that it's been a while since she dove off stage. "Who's up for a little crowd surfing?" U.S. agent tells her to wait, these people are infected and corrupted. But in the middle of the silent group, a woman with purple skin stands there. And U.S. agent asks, "Who is that?" She says that someone with a lot of conviction. After the woman touches Electro, she goes limp for a moment and then begins to supercharge herself. As she's about to explode, Rhino charges into Electro, trying to divert some of the blast. But there is still more than enough to knock everyone in close range off of their feet. US Agent gets up asking what just happened, and Taskmaster looks around. It was non-lethal. Everyone's fine. But Agony is the one who tells them, everyone except Electro. And there you have it, the conclusion to what the reading order says is the next 3 issues. Now, we did technically jump over a Spider-Woman issue, but from what I've read, it has nothing to do with Devil's Reign other than having the banner on the issue. According to the reading order, next week we'll be covering the X-Men and the Superior Four. So that's next up on this list before we eventually get back to the Winter Soldier, Daredevil, and more Moon Knight. If you don't know what you're watching, this is a giant crossover event from Marvel, which means I have to break it up into multiple parts. I think it's got a total of like 14 to 17 issues in it. So, right now, New York is all up in arms. The Thunderbolts are currently tied down working with Kingpin, while Daredevil and the rest of the superheroes are all tied up trying to figure out how to get somebody elected to dethrone Kingpin, and some superheroes like Moon Knight and Spider-Man have already been arrested. If you want to see what happens next, join us next Friday right here at Comicstorian. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.